Oklahoma takes the field, it becomes a big event. But when it's time for their annual showdown with Nebraska, the game becomes a special occasion. Few rivalries in college football generate the excitement this one does. And the Sooners have been building, anticipating, and gearing up for this one. The one that counts the most, because today, the Big 8 championship and the Orange Bowl are at stake. The Nebraska Cornhuskers are itching for another crack at the Sooners. Like Oklahoma, they've lost only one game this season. But too many seasons for Nebraska have ended with disappointing losses at the hands of Oklahoma. Today, the Huskers hope to roll back that trend. The Orange Bowl hangs in the balance. Nebraska faces Oklahoma today on CBS. Winter comes early to the great Southwest. Storm clouds on the horizon. And a major storm fixing to brew up inside Memorial Stadium in Norman, where it's the Sooners against the Cornhuskers in their annual shootout. Despite the foul weather, it'll be tough to find an empty seat here this afternoon. Settle in and enjoy this one. It figures to be a dandy. Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome. Along with Pat Hayden and Pat O'Brien, I'm Brent Musburger. Nice to have you with us. Wouldn't seem like a college football season if we didn't come down to the annual shootout between these two for the Big 8 and the Orange Bowl. The loser, well, they get to go to Orlando, Florida, pretty good trip, and they'll play in the Citrus Bowl against Clemson. Now, Nebraska. They haven't beaten Oklahoma in the last 4 tries. That means this senior class on Tom Osborne's team has never beaten Barry Switzer. So for some of the seniors, this is the game of their career. And here are their thoughts on that subject.
This means everything to me. It's either going to me, it's either going to make my season or it's going to, it's going to be a down season for me.
We're very focused this year. We know what we want to do, and our goal was to win the Big 8. And we have the team to do that, and the players looking forward to doing that, too. So it should be a good year. If we beat OU, it'll be a great year.
A tough job at hand for the seniors on both these teams. But, Pat Hayden, we must talk about the weather because snow is in the forecast and raining hard this morning. What does that do to this game?
Well, it is a miserable day, but a game like this is going to be one with turnovers and field position. You're going to see some unlikely heroes, I think, today. Long snappers, holders, and in particular, I think today's kickers, guys who haven't really had much on the line so far this year. Last year has only kicked 4 field goals, attempted 4. Barrios has only attempted 8. But in this kind of game, Brent, it can come down to the 4th quarter, and a field goal by one of these guys can win it.
And we got wind, too, so the field goal kickers, when they're moving from the right to the left on the television screen, are going to have a lot of trouble.
This is Steve Martone with the weather bulletin from the National Weather.
Oklahoma's offense for the last 4 years, sidelined half of this season with a nagging knee injury. Holloway, ironically, last night was named Oklahoma's all-time best wishbone magician. He will not start his final college game, and so for one more time, an organized cheer for this young man that has done so much for Oklahoma. And back upstairs now to you, Brent and Pat.
All right, Tad, thank you. And so, Jamel Holloway, no one we ever saw never handled that wishbone any better. But the replacement, who steps in now, we had him a year ago up in Lincoln. Charles Thompson, he's a good one, too.
You know, Tom Osborne told me they have never faced a quarterback with the speed of Charles Thompson. And that's the problem, simulating the speed that Oklahoma has during the course of the week as you prepare for them. You just can't do it. It takes so long to adjust on this team. They can win by about 14 points, really, in the first half.
The other side of the ball, and the young man with something to prove today, Steve Taylor.
You're right. He didn't play particularly well last year. His senior outfit, he really wants to play well today, and he can beat you with his speed. He can outrun you. He's a very good runner, and his arm, but even more so with his head. He audibilizes about 50% of the time, Brent.
Steve Taylor, a superb all-around athlete out of the state of California. And so the players are getting ready now to pour onto the stadium down here. And here come the Sooners. A big hug for Holloway by Barry Switzer. The enemy. And a lot of their fans have traveled down here from Nebraska. He wants desperately to beat Barry Switzer. Barry has handled him 12 of the 16 times that they have met. But here this afternoon, Osborne can make an entire season with a victory in the shootout. And we'll be right back. Hey, for football, let's play two. Throw another log on the fire, Mama, because here we go this afternoon in Norman, Oklahoma. Todd Thompson with the ball on the tee. Set to return it here. These gloomy conditions. Richard Bell and Dana Brunson of the Huskers. With that wind at his back, he hammers it out of the end zone. They'll bring it out on the 20-yard line. Now, Steve Taylor will lead the Huskers. And what about the rest of their skill men, Pat?
Well, they have Ken Clark at tailback, a man who quietly has rushed for 1,300 yards this year. Carpenter, mostly a blocker in there. And the wide receivers, Morgan Gregory has a nice burst on his move. The tight end, Milliken, has caught 7 touchdown passes on the year.
Steve Taylor. A year ago, he almost guaranteed a victory. Lived to regret that statement. This year, much quieter. On first down, he runs the option and crashes out near the 30-yard line before Ken McMitchell, number 12, brings him down for the Sooners. How about that Oklahoma defense, Pat?
Well, the front five is really the strength of this defense. Tony Woods right there in the middle. The strength starts at nose tackle. Scott Evans will be the next All-American in the defensive line for Oklahoma, perhaps next year. Dixon and Good have a big load today on the outside. They're the outside linebackers.
A long one for a first down. Clark, the I-back. And that was Scott Evans, number 78, leading the defensive charge by the Sooners. The first down will depend on where they spot the ball. Needed to get to the 30-yard line for the first down.
Brent, if Nebraska is going to win today, Steve Taylor has to come up with a big play. He's going to be the guy.
Inches short. This will be a 3rd and short for the Huskers. Clark again. First down, 35, 40, breaks a tackle, gone at midfield, 40, and finally out of bounds at the 38-yard line. Jerry Park pushing him out of bounds, but a 33-yard burst by Ken Clark, the junior from Omaha.
Again, the key here is the offensive line. They give Clark a little bit of crease and plenty of time to make up his mind. But then Kevin Thompson, number 22, really should have made the tackle right there. Got his helmet on the wrong side of Clark, and he's just too strong. He's going to run right through you.
Nebraska with a first down at the Oklahoma 28-yard line. Got the 38-yard line. Check that. It's at the 38. Taylor to pass again on first down. Receivers covered. Still not pressured. Now he'll roll back to his own 45-yard line. Trying to shake free, and he is down and out of bounds at the 45. That's a loss of 7 yards on that play. Kurt Casper and James Good getting him out of bounds.
That That was sensational coverage by the Sooner pass defense. When a quarterback has that much time, he should find an open receiver, but everybody was covered.
So this will leave Nebraska with a 2nd and 17.
Brent, again, I think it's very important that Nebraska score early because it takes a long time to adjust to the speed of Oklahoma when they're on offense.
Taylor will keep it himself, and he battles for 4 yards and no more. It will leave 3rd and long, 93. Big Curtis Williams from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, 6'3", 280, bringing him down.
3rd and long here for the Cornhuskers, and remember, they're going right into the teeth of about a 30-mile-an-hour wind, and that is the key factor here in this drive on this 3rd and long.
Nate Turner, wide receiver from Chicago, brought the play in from the Nebraska sideline. He is flanked out to the left. Taylor to throw. Straight back. Over to middle, and it is complete to the 10-yard line. Richard Bell, number 21, the receiver. Kevin Thompson with the coverage. A gain of 30 yards on a critical 3rd down play for the Huskers.
Richard Bell lines up here right down the wing and goes right down the seam. The safety doesn't get there in time, and it's a nice throw with touch by Steve Taylor into a very thick wind. You see the little hole there? The ball has to be drilled. It's beautifully timed and well caught by Bell.
The ball is put down on the 11-yard line for a 1st and 10. Running the option, and Taylor is slammed at the line of scrimmage. It'll be 2nd and 10. That was James Good, number 39, 6'4", 230 pounds, a sophomore from Houston. This year he recorded 7 quarterback sacks.
And James Good is going to have the game of his career as an outside linebacker because Nebraska will run option at you, they'll run passes at you, and power football at you. The outside linebackers need to play well.
Behind the OU secondary, looking in over the umpire and the nose man. Taylor, the quarterback, backs in the eye, fakes to Clark, rolls to the right, and got to keep it, and battles his way toward the end zone, but they force him out of bounds near that 1st down marker. He was forced out at the 1, but Mitchell and Hart doing the job defensively for the Sooners.
He got the 1st down, and Brent, at the top of the show, we said Steve Taylor needs to come up with big plays if Nebraska is going to win this game. Twice on scrambles in his 1st drive, he has done just that.
First and goal. Carpenter is the fullback in front of Clark. Taylor keeps it. No signal of the touchdown. The linesman rushing in from the sides, and there's the signal. He got across, broke the plane for the touchdown. Nebraska strikes first, just as they did a year ago in Lincoln.
A very important drive early in the game when you're playing on the road.
Left-footed kicker Greg Barrios to attempt the extra point. Jerry Gutowski, backup quarterback, is the holder. Seven nothing.
Steve Taylor runs right behind his center, Jake Young, and his right guard, John Nelson, just a little wedge blocking. It takes the official a long time to uncover them under all the bodies. If they get on the board, they lead 7-0.
Oklahoma nothing here in Norman. Chris Brennan with the ball on the tee to kick it off for the Cornhuskers. And 2 freshmen back deep for Barry Switzer. Lynn Milburn and Rod Fisher. Into the wind. On a high hop, Fisher at the 9, 15, 20. Out to the 27-yard line. Pat Tyrants from Omaha leading the...
Good afternoon, everyone. This is Dinah Tyler. The national
right here, Norman. The wishbone, the fullback, always the key for Thompson. He rides in, keeps it, and now he pitches out to Stafford. Fumble. Oklahoma recovers. Tim Jackson jarred the ball loose, but Mike Gaddis wrapped it up and saved a turnover.
But Brent, you mentioned an interesting point. Tim Jackson, the free safety, you're going to see him number 4 coming into this play right there. He is the key. The free safety against the wishbone team has to make lots of plays just like that.
Second down, and 6 yards to go for the Sooners. Thompson again keeping. He pitches to Gaddis, gets away from him, and out of bounds. It'll be 3rd and long. The problem with the wishbone on a nasty day.
Again, it's just like a passing. It's almost a pass when you're optioning right there. And I also talked to Charles Thompson yesterday, and I asked him, Charles, do you feel more comfortable pitching the ball to your right? He said, naturally I do. When I go to the left, you just, as a right-hander, you aren't nearly as comfortable. That ball was well pitched, though, and Gaddis should have caught the ball.
Gaddis, star of the future, everyone tells us here in Norman. He's a freshman out of Midwest City, Oklahoma. 6'2", 205. Oklahoma puts it on the carpet on their first 2 plays. They break out the bone. And Thompson to throw for the first time, but there's a penalty flag down. The whistle blew just prior to the snap.
I think the 30-second clock may have expired. The 25-second clock may have expired. It's 0 on the clock right now. That can happen to Oklahoma from time to time when they try to get out of the wishbone into another formation, which they're not very accustomed to doing. That time they ran out of the I formation and got caught on the penalty.
A shaky start for the Sooners. Nebraska scores on its first possession. Oklahoma fumbles but recovers both of them on their first 2 plays. Then they are penalized 5 yards. And the line of scrimmage is back at the 23. Lined up in the I formation, they run the option, and Thompson is creamed. Lawrence Pete and Willie Griffin climb all over him.
And Brent, a big first series for the Nebraska defense. Again, we said it takes some time to adjust to the speed of the wishbone offense. You can't simulate that in practice, but the Nebraska defense did their job on this first series.
Todd Thompson with a 41.3 average, standing inside his own 5-yard line. Gets one off with the wind behind him, and it'll be down near the 40-yard line. Well, Pat O'Brien, are you staying warm this afternoon?
Brett, as a matter of fact, I thought I'd have all kinds of stories about how the teams prepared for the cold weather, but neither team has done really anything at all. They got a couple of rented heaters. It looks like they rented them at the last minute here. Oklahoma has played in the rain every home game but one, and they've won them. These are tough kids. Go back upstairs.
Thank you, Pat. So are the Nebraska kids. This probably feels like a home game, conditions like this. Clark is out of the game right now. Double wing formation for the Huskers. Taylor bringing Turner around, and it did not fool the Oklahoma defense. Wayne Dixon from Borger, Texas, bringing him down.
Top left of the screen, Wayne Dixon right here stays at home to take away the reverse. And that's, again, an outside linebacker, what you have to do when you're playing against the Cornhuskers, because they have a reputation for running plays like this. But Dixon stayed right at home and put the stop on Turner.
Second down and 9 yards against this OU defense for Steve Taylor. Now it is Clark, the I back, and he busts another one. First down, and he's out of bounds at the Oklahoma 43-yard line. 14-yard gain for Clark, and doesn't he run hard?
You know, some guys take a long time to put a move on you, but Ken Clark does not do that. Well, he just gets by you very, very quickly, doesn't waste any time while he's putting a head fake on you.
The leading rusher behind that always tough offensive line. Clark has rushed for 1,368 yards this year. That's an average of 6.4 yards a carry. 73 yards his long run. First and 10 for the Cornhuskers. They lead it by 7 in the opening quarter. Taylor freezing on the option. Can't find a receiver, and now he throws it out of bounds. Incomplete. Wayne Dixon pressuring him for the Sooners.
That should be a penalty. There is no receiver anywhere near that ball, and he was just avoiding the sack. They're not going to call it on him, but there wasn't a receiver within 15 yards of that throw.
Does it matter that he threw it out of bounds?
Oh, absolutely. You still have to throw it in the direction of a receiver.
Milliken, the tight end, number 43. He's the favorite target of Taylor. Taylor, the senior, wound up his high school career at San Diego Lincoln. Came into the season a Heisman Trophy candidate, but a lot of that preseason publicity seemed to drop away after they were beaten. Now the handoff, and they go right straight ahead. Tom Backus making the stop. Clark again the ball carrier. Let's beat that offensive line.
It's a strong offensive line here. The center, Jake Young, has been around for a couple of years and played real well. The guard, Keeler, is one of the captains. The strength here, though, is in the tackle position, particularly on Glazer's side, number 70. And Milliken, who is the tight end, told me yesterday that this is the most important game of his life. This game will make or break my career at Nebraska.
3rd and 7. Clark again out, and they insert an extra wide receiver. They overload to the left. Taylor flushed out of that side, turns around, and gets a first down inside the 25-yard line to the Sooner 22. So that time it was Steve Taylor making it happen all by himself. A 19-yard run after he's forced back the other way.
You mentioned it earlier, Brent, but Steve Taylor quietly prepares for this year's game. He's got all sorts of athletic ability. He said he could beat you with his arms. Here he's doing it with his legs. Later on, you can see him audibilize, which he's done all year long very, very well. But quietly, he prepared himself for, he thinks, the biggest game of his career.
1st and 10. Nebraska, having scored on its first possession, now driving on its second. And timeout being called by Nebraska. Something they didn't like. And Todd Milliken, the tight end, said, let's use a timeout here and talk it over. So we'll take a break and come right back. Up in the Orange Bowl, leading by 7 and driving, and in the battle for the Rose Bowl from the Pac-10 as we take a look at Houston, Texas Tech first. There's the UCLA score. Bruins kick a field goal. Rodney Peete is quarterbacking the USC Trojans, battling measles and was unable to work out with the Trojans. And now he faces an uphill battle as the Bruins strike first. Here for the Cornhuskers, 1st and 10. They have driven to the Sooners' 22-yard line. Clark is back at I-back for Nebraska. Bobble on the snap, and Taylor wraps it up right there.
Tom Osborne said this week about Steve Taylor, he thinks he's not getting the credit he deserves. Everybody's been talking about Rodney Peete and Troy Aikman out west, but quietly, Steve Taylor's had a very good year, 23 touchdowns on the year. And he says when he is on, he can be as dangerous as any quarterback in America.
Osborne looking to break this 4-game losing streak at the hands of Switzer. 15 yards for the first down for the Cornhuskers here. Now, beautiful shot at Clark and the driving power of that I-back. Powering inside the 15-yard line with Frank Blevins, number 35, tripping him up.
Brent, some guys can cut, but what Ken Clark does is really accelerate off the cut, and that differentiates him. The right guard, John Nelson, watch him pull and lead the way here for Kent Clark. He's going to pull out and clear the way as Clark follows that block, hugs it, kicks out on good, and then does the rest.
2 yards. for a first down. This is Clark. Behind that line, has the first down. Penalty marker comes down. Clark reached the 7-yard line, and Kevin Thompson tackling him for the Sooners, but there is a penalty.
Talking to Gary Gibbs, the defensive coordinator at Oklahoma. And Brent, he was talking about this Nebraska offense. He feels the offense is even better than a year ago, mostly because of that offensive line and the maturity of Steve Taylor.
So the ball being marked off to the 24-yard line. How cold is it? With the wind chill in Norman, Oklahoma this afternoon, 9 degrees.
Beautiful day for the game.
Third down, 12 yards to go for the first down. Taylor under pressure, gets it off. Incomplete and almost intercepted by Jerry Parks in the end zone.
Jerry Parks really should have had it. I think he was worrying about his feet and where the end of the end zone was, because he had plenty of room to make the catch. Take another look at Jerry Parks. It goes right through his hands, but again, I think he's a little bit worried about the end of the end zone, but he should have made the play.
This will be a tough 41-yard field goal attempt by Barrios. It's tough because you're kicking it into the teeth of that wind. This one, he gets good. He hit that ball, but it missed. He hit it good, though, didn't he?
Right into that 30-mile-an-hour wind, and that's about where he hit him in the pregame warm-up, but the wind pushed it wide.
So Nebraska's lead stays at 7, and we'll be right back. In Oklahoma, and Pat Hayden gusting around 30 miles an hour, but Greg Barrios, he hit that one good, and the wind just kept it outside.
It really did push it. It's hard for a kicker to do this because he knows he has to drive it, and sometimes you lose the accuracy. The wind just pushed that one too far left.
And Charles Thompson will bring the Sooner offense to the line of scrimmage right there at the 24-yard line where the umpire puts the ball down. Anderson in at fullback. Thompson, now he pitches to Stafford, and Stafford out to the 28 and into the arms of Jackson.
Well, this is a pretty good offensive line here for Oklahoma. Latham coming back off a knee surgery early in the year, gets his first start since the first game. Right there, Anthony Phillips is the name to all the All-American teams, and Manning and Van Kiersbilk having very good years at the tackle.
Second down and 7. Rodney Anderson is 28. He's replaced Perry as the fullback. A year ago, forced to play early in Lincoln because of an injury. Now Thompson to throw, drops straight back and takes off out of the pocket. Looking for room, he'll have the first down across the 40 and near midfield. Reggie Cooper, number 17, chasing him for the Huskers, and Thompson gains 21 yards.
Brent, that's the frustrating thing about playing against Oklahoma. Even when you have the play well defended, this is supposed to be a pass to the back Gaddis, but he's picked up with a free safety Jackson. Even when you have them well defended, the athletic ability of Charles Thompson to come up with a big play like this.
Artie Guest, the wide receiver from Oklahoma City, on top blocking for Thompson. First and 10 at the Sooner 49-yard line. Oklahoma trailing by 7. And first down on that bolt by Gaddis. Etienne, number 47, the senior linebacker, wrapping him up for the Huskers.
That was a nice stop right there, number 47, Etienne, a guy who gets very, very emotional and intense before games. As a matter of fact, they have to set a coach with him before games to try to cool him down a little bit.
Pat, have you noticed number 89, Roderick Tomashev, the standout All-American linebacker for the Huskers?
Down at the bottom of the screen, right there, plays very well over the tight end and a very good pass rusher.
Thompson, the fullback, gets a yard and no more. Wells and Pete bringing him down. Let's check in with Jim Nance in New York. Jim, what do you got?
Brent, I got a surprise in the Big 8. Iowa State shocking Oklahoma State. First play of the fourth quarter, Joe Henderson scores to give the Cyclones the lead. Barry Sanders has 122 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns, but his team trails. Back to Brent.
Only 100 and some yards he'll throw this afternoon back.
He has had a remarkable year, Barry Sanders.
Third down for the Sooners and 6 yards to go. Timeout is now being called by the Sooners. And Thompson will go over to confer with Barry Switzer. And while we've got an opportunity, let's take a look at these two fine schools, Nebraska and Oklahoma. To Showdown Saturday in college football. From Norman, Oklahoma, with Pat O'Brien, Pat Hayden, I'm Brett Musburger. Nebraska leading Oklahoma in this one in the battle for the Orange Bowl, 7-0. In the battle for the Rose Bowl, UCLA is still ahead of Rodney Peete, who is playing in USC by a field goal in the first quarter in Los Angeles. This is 3rd and 7 for the Sooners. They break out of the wishbone, and Thompson will throw. Incomplete. Nebraska pounces on the ball to make sure that it wasn't a lateral, but it was thrown forward. It's an incomplete pass. So with 4th down here, Todd Thompson, the senior, will come on and punt for Barry Switzer.
And Brent, the Nebraska defense hung in here most of this first quarter, and that was the key, not to get blown out by the speed of Oklahoma early in the game.
Wind at his back. Richard Bell, that's Dana Brinson, 33. Good averaging, almost 10 yards at returning punts. He's standing back on his own 10-yard line. Thompson hangs one high. He'll bluff a fair catch, and the Sooners can't quite get to it. It goes in for the touchback on the 47-yard punt by Thompson. Ball will come out to the 20-yard line, where it will be 1st and 10 for Taylor and the Huskers. Let's break away for another update from Jim Nance.
Brent, you were just saying that Barry Sanders had only 120 yards. Well, that quickly, he goes over 200 yards as he takes the very next play after the kickoff. 80 yards for the score, and Oklahoma State ties up the Cyclones. Sanders' 3rd touchdown of the day. Back to Brent.
What a sensational season he is having in a drive to win a Heisman Trophy. Here it is, Steve Taylor in a drive to get the Huskers to the Orange Bowl. Carpenter, the fullback, bolts for the 1st down.
When you think of Nebraska, you always think of the big I back. Sometimes you think of the wing back. But Brian Carpenter has done a nice job of running the football this year for the Cornhuskers. A little bit smaller. He's only 200 pounds, but gets a very quick start, and they like to use him on those inside traps.
How these two teams have dominated the Big 8. The winner of the Oklahoma-Nebraska game has won or shared the Big 8 championship 39 times in the 43 years since World War II. No two other schools have dominated any conference like that. Not Michigan, Ohio State, and the Big Ten. Now it is Clark running around the right side. And he's out to about the 32-yard line. Dillon and McMitchell. Let's check in downstairs with Pat O'Brien. Pat?
All right, Brent, thank you. The reason you don't see any water on this field is because this field has the highest crown of any field in college football. Opponents say it's because Oklahoma runs the triple and they're running downhill all the time, but really it's a good drainage system. Let's go back to you.
All right, Pat, thank you. So far here this afternoon, Nebraska's been running downhill. 2nd and 8 for the Huskers. Taylor spinning on the option and not fooling Good and Dillon, the 2 defensive players there.
Richard Dillon has been injured a lot of this year for the Sooners, and what he has is a lot of speed from the inside linebacker position. They've really missed that. Bottom of the screen, number 41 right there, and number 39 is Good. They both get in there on Taylor, but the speed of Richard Dillon has been a welcome return to this Oklahoma Sooner defense.
Nebraska has been outstanding on 3rd down so far today. They've converted 3 of 4, trying it again. Taylor changing the play at the line. Now he'll have to use his 2nd timeout.
That's a problem. If you're going to change the play, you have to get up to the line of scrimmage with about 8 or 9 seconds remaining.
The penalty flag came down. He might not have gotten his timeout in time. Let's see if they penalize him. The 25-second clock expired just about as he was asking for the timeout. So the officials will have to sort it out. And you see he did not get it called in time, so they'll mark off the 5 yards. Now, they will not charge them with the timeout in that situation. So Nebraska gets to keep the timeout, but they lose 5 yards. Of course, our football extravaganza on CBS. Oh, don't they love the sight of oranges. I was going to say we continue tomorrow. Chicago and Mike Ditka will be down at Tampa Bay to take on Vinny Testaverde. Phoenix without Neil Lomax with a tough assignment in the House of Pain. And Detroit to do battle against Green Bay. And a big one late. Philadelphia against the Giants. The Eagles very much in the playoff picture now. And Atlanta will be out at the Coliseum to take on the revitalized Raiders, who suddenly have a defense. 3rd and 12 here for Nebraska against Oklahoma. The Cornhuskers lead it 7-0. Taylor under pressure, fires complete. Hit Richard Bell on the far side. Kevin Thompson, the defensive back, a gain of 18 yards.
But Richard Bell plays the wing back here for Nebraska, but it was great pressure by the Sooner defense. Taylor does a nice job of hanging in there, and that ball was thrown all arms. Great arm strength by Taylor.
Taylor was bent over backwards because James Good, the sack specialist from Houston, was all over him as he delivered that ball. Number 39 applying plenty of pressure for the Sooners. 1st and 10 again for Nebraska. This is Clark cutting away from the defender and getting across midfield and into the arms of Mitchell and Dillon. Clark has carried 7 times for 70 yards here in the first half of this shootout.
When you come to Nebraska as an I-back, as Clark is, you have to be willing and ready to take the ball 25, 30 times and mash the ball and be real strong in the 4th quarter.
USC seizes the lead for the first time. They were down by a field goal, and the Trojans have gone ahead in that one 7-3 as time runs out on the 1st quarter. And the rain beginning to pick up with snow in the forecast. A dark, gloomy afternoon, but everything's cheery for Nebraska, and we'll return after this message and a word for your local station. Camera right now, with the raindrops splattering across it, is Buzz Schwing, and he may have the toughest job at Memorial Stadium. Standing there in that lift. Buzz, we hope you stay a little warm up there. I know when Mike Burke says take a break, you can't do much about it, but hang in there. We appreciate you taking one for the team today. Back on the field now for Nebraska to start the 2nd quarter. 2nd down and 5, and the rain beginning to come down harder. The prediction, it'll turn to snow before this one's over. Now they come with the eye back close to the 1st down. 11 defensively. Bringing him down there, and a summary of our game so far shows you what the Nebraska quarterback has accomplished here. Clark, the eye back, averaging 10 yards a pop against this Oklahoma defense. So Nebraska asserting itself with that offensive line, Pat Hayden.
And its defense did its job in the 1st quarter, really not letting Oklahoma come up with any big plays on the perimeter of the defense.
1 yard to go for another 1st down. The fake to Clark, and Taylor going to pass, but he's being rushed by the defense, and it is dropped on the near side by Brinson. Taylor did not surprise Oklahoma. Dixon, number 34, came across and pressured him.
And now Tom Osborne is debating whether he's going to go for it on 4th and short. Ordinarily, when you try for it, as you see the rush there by Tony Woods, the nose tackle, and then Dixon, he does a nice job of getting the ball away, and it looks like Tom Osborne is going to go for it on 4th and short.
So a big moment here in the first half. Nebraska leading by 7. 4th and inches. Ball just inside the Oklahoma 45-yard line. Taylor keeps it, and a penalty flag comes down. He got the first down, but the linesman threw the penalty marker.
Dead ball. Illegal procedure.
Now there'll be no choice. The punter comes onto the field. Taylor will take the offense off. Number 46, Big John Croker from Henderson, Nebraska, with his first punt of the afternoon. Jerry Parks standing back at the OU 10-yard line. John Croker, not under a heavy rush, hangs one. Parks lets it go, and it is out of bounds at the 12-yard line.
This is Steve Martone with...
Notice how Pat O'Brien is hanging very near those heaters on the two sidelines.
Smart man, that Pat O'Brien.
Thompson brings the Sooners up to the line. 1st and 10 with that wishbone. Handling the ball so delicate on a day like this, especially with the triple option. The fullback leading the quarterback through, and no gain on that play. Thompson stepped in behind Perry and into the arms of 270-pound Pete and 275-pound Griffin.
You really have to appreciate these guys playing in these kind of conditions in this kind of game. Everything is on the line. The Big 8 championship, the Orange Bowl, and for the seniors, their last game, other than the bowl game.
Some of the most memorable games that the public has ever seen has come on bad weather days. NFL and college. Right behind Thompson. Coming down the line. The quarterback keeping it now on the option. Hitting to the corner and down with a splendid tackle by Tim Jackson, the senior from Dallas.
Tim Jackson has done a sensational job twice, and Jackson is kind of a unique story. One of the few guys who's played both for Nebraska and against them. But watch him here. This is his alley. He's got to stop the quarterback as he comes down the line of scrimmage. He usually has to fight off a block first. No one picked him up there, and that's why he put the stop on Charles Thompson.
This college football Saturday began early over in Europe. First college game ever played in Europe. ESPN broadcasted from Ireland between Army and Boston College, won by BC. Jim Nance will have highlights on the Prudential College Football Halftime Report. Timeout called by Oklahoma. So they chewed up the sod over there in Ireland, and the fans loved it. And here we've got a capacity crowd on hand. Miserable weather conditions. Nebraska leading by 7. We'll be right back.
Jackson has the unique distinction of playing both for Nebraska and against them. For 2 years, he played at Kansas State. They were beaten badly, decided to transfer to Nebraska, and played some real mean free safety for him.
Transfer from Kansas State.
Good move, wasn't it?
Sounds like a candidate for the All-Academic team. Oklahoma comes up to the line of scrimmage. They're down by 7. 3rd and 8 following that timeout. They break out of the phone, and they hand off to Stafford. And he is hammered down at the 14 by Willie Griffin out of Monrovia, California. And that senior's playing himself a whale of a game in that defensive line. Oklahoma forced the punt again.
Willie Griffin, top left, number 84, fights off a block. He is very good in a defined area. He doesn't have a lot of athletic ability and speed, but in a small area, he's very strong and tough.
Behind Thompson. Standing at his own goal line for the Sooners. No rush. Low punt into the wind. And it was fielded right there at the 43 by Richard Bell. 28-yard punt. Let's take this opportunity to check in with Jim Nance.
Well, Brent, that other wild one in the Big 8. Oklahoma State takes the lead with 7 minutes left. A lot of heart on this play by Hartley Dyke as he finds the end zone. 35-28 Cowboys. Let's go back to Brent.
He is indeed a money player for him. Barry Sanders with 235 yards on the day and 3 touchdowns. 1st and 10 for the Huskers. Ball at the OU 42-yard line. Here's the handoff to the I-back Clark, picking his daylight. It's inside the 40-yard line with Richard Dillon, bringing him down.
I look look at Nebraska, Brent, I always think about that wingback position. Richard Bell there made a nice block, and also Ken Clark followed that block well. But when you think of Nebraska, all the great players that have played that wingback position, Irving Fryer and Johnny Rogers, is a position that probably requires the most versatility in all of college football.
6 yards for the first down for Taylor. Hands to Clark, hole on the left side, and he is stopped short of the 35-yard line. Scott Evans, 78, and Kurt Casper, 46, bringing him down. Scott Evans having a terrific year defensively. He's 6'3", 250. He's a sophomore out of Edmond, Oklahoma. And he leads this team in unassisted tackles coming into this game with 44. He's also got 7 sacks.
Gary Gibbs, the defensive coordinator, believes he'll be the next All-American defensive lineman at Oklahoma.
Third and the long 2. Taylor on the option, being tripped up, trying to dive for that first down. Let's see where they spot it. Taylor tried to extend the arm with his ball, and now the official brings it back, and it's going to be very close.
And they're going to bring in the sticks, but Tom Osborne has to consider actually even a field goal because they're so far away, but they do have a 30-mile-an-hour wind behind him. So if he doesn't go for it, he still has an opportunity to kick for 3.
Well, first the measurement. And that's quite a ways to go.
It's 4th down.
And he was going to go for it. Surprisingly, with all that wind behind him.
Nebraska on 4th down, 57% this year. Taylor doesn't like the defensive set.
Look at his crowd noise. He's stepping away from the line of scrimmage because of crowd noise.
Taylor was bluffing that time on crowd noise. He came up, and Oklahoma brought its safeties up into the defensive formation where the linebackers are, and he chooses the opportunity to go to the sideline and confer with the coaches. He used as an excuse that there was too much noise. That's experience for you. Got over to the sideline, conferred with the coaches, and now he's back in the huddle. Now he's going to wait again.
The referee is making him wait at the line of scrimmage, though.
There are 10 defenders within 3 yards of the line of scrimmage.
And the referee has now asked the Oklahoma defensive team to try to quiet the crowd down, which is part of the rule. And if you still don't get quiet, they go over the PA system, and then they assess a penalty.
Pat, would you have kicked the field goal here?
With a 30-mile-an-hour wind behind me, I think I would have. It's a long 1 yard.
Here's Clark. He's got it. And out of bounds inside the 25-yard line. They swung it to the outside, and a hole open on the right side of the offensive line, and a 12-yard gain.
Brent, offensive linemen never get enough credit. John Nelson, the right guard, was really through the block. And the tight end Milliken, number 43. But watch the right guard Nelson, number 76, pull out right in front of him and cleared the defense for Ken Clark to run right behind him. That's a terrific block by John Nelson.
Clark is within 6 yards of rushing for 100 yards here this afternoon. First and 10 for Nebraska. They lead Oklahoma 7-0. Taylor handing it off to the wingman, Richard Bell, coming around, and Tracy Gordon tackling him for the Sooners. Let's go down to Pat O'Brien. Pat?
All right, Brent, thank you very much. With Greg Switzer's got an off weekend. He plays for Arkansas. And how come he didn't go to Oklahoma?
Well, I thought about going to Oklahoma at first because, you know, my dad here and all, but I wanted to kind of have my own identity at the University of Arkansas. And my dad went to school there. My mom was a featured twirler at the University of Arkansas. So I thought, you know, it'd be a good place for me to go. And I've lived in Little Rock since 8th grade on in my high school years, I just decided to go to Arkansas.
How do you like your chances against Miami?
Well, our coaches feel they're the best team in the country, and they should have beat Notre Dame, but because of turnovers, they didn't. We got a chance. Everybody has a chance today in college football, so we're going to go down there and try to beat them.
We'll see you there. Upstairs.
Taylor under pressure gets it off for the end zone, intercepted. Oklahoma intercepted in the end zone. Scott Garl.
This interception was first set up by a lot of pressure. 39 good gets in Taylor's face. And then Scott Garl stuck on his man all afternoon. He did a beautiful job. But watch the pressure early on as 39 good puts the pressure on Taylor. And then Garl is not fooled on the play-action fake and makes a real nice catch. That's a great play.
9.5 minutes left in the first half. Nebraska scored its first touchdown and only touchdown of this game on its first possession. And that's our scoring. The Cornhuskers also missing a field goal, and 5-foot 10-inch quarterback Charles Thompson, the sophomore, ready to see if he can ignite something here for Oklahoma. They've been stuffed pretty well by this Nebraska defense so far this afternoon. Now USC goes up 14-3. Remember, the Bruins led that one 3-0. With the Trojans in command there. This is Anderson, the fullback, and the fullback is finding heavy going. That was Lawrence Pete, number 96, the senior from Wichita, Kansas. When you talk to the Oklahoma coaching staff, you will find that they always feel that the key to their wishbone attack is that fullback able to really dominate the middle of the defense. That keeps folks at home, and they can't stretch out wide, then they can spring the big play.
You mentioned Lawrence Pete, number 96, the nose tackle. He just fought through the block of Rob Latham, the center, and made the stop on that fullback, and that is the key to stopping the wishbone.
Thompson barking the chain. Down the line, Thompson keeps it, steps inside the defender. First down, out to the 37-yard line and out of bounds at the 38 is where it'll be marked. That was Chase Wells defensively.
You know, Brent, if Magic Johnson were a football player, he would play quarterback for Oklahoma on the wishbone. Watch Charles Thompson again. This play is well defended. But watch the move. He comes to a complete stop, takes out two defenders, and then has the strength to run through a player as well.
Chains being moved for Thompson and the Sooner offense. Ball at the 38. And he comes with the halfback. And number 32, Gaddis, breaks the tackle before he is finally brought down here at the 43-yard line by Tim Jackson. 75,000, and despite this atrocious weather here this afternoon, you can't find too many empty seats in this house.
Great day to be a tennis player.
Only if you've got an indoor court. Second and 5. Thompson down that line again. Bounces off Cooper. And he is to the 43-yard line, about the original line of scrimmage. And Broderick Thomas is credited with that tackle. We have not mentioned.
Good afternoon, I'm Dinah Tyler. The National Weather
This friend is probably Deion Sanders, the All-American cornerback at Florida State. They speak weekly on the telephone. 3rd and 4 for Oklahoma. Thompson to put it up. Under pressure, will not get it off. He is sacked at the 33. Larry Aiken comes through and sacks the quarterback.
ATN did a nice job on the blitz of not overrunning the play. He's had a tendency to do that, but he was patient enough to wait to see where Thompson was going to end up, and that's where he headed, and then made the play. Sometimes the linebacker on a blitz can overrun it, ATN didn't hear, timed it beautifully.
Thompson to punt again, standing at the Sooner 20-yard line. Hits at the 40, and it will be down. It's an Oklahoma roll down near the 34-yard line. So with the score 7-0, Huskers over the Sooners. 6.5 minutes in the first half. We'll be right back. And Tom Osborne are friendly, but you would not call them good friends. They are both successful, but Pat Hayden, Barry Switzer is always at his loosest the week of the Nebraska game.
He says he doesn't feel any pressure when he plays against Nebraska because the teams are evenly matched, and I think that looseness that he has is transmitted to his players, and athletes play better when they're loose in a big ball game.
They trail Tom Osborne in Nebraska right now, however, by 7, and the Huskers have dominated the first half. But they've had a couple of scoring opportunities, and they were unable to cash in. Here a 1st and 10 again. Clark picking his way to the 41-yard line.
So, Brent, while Charles Thompson sees daylight, Clark kind of creates it.
And that puts him over 100 yards for the first half pass.
But you're right, he does a real nice job of picking his way through traffic. Every good running back has vision, and he's got plenty of them.
A lot of traditional rivalries unfolding today. Stanford and Cal. What's at stake there? The big trombone? 2nd down and 2. Here's Taylor faking that wing around, keeping it for the first down. Out to the 47, and Tony Woods out of Colorado Springs tackling it.
I think Nebraska may have the most diversified offense in college football when you figure they can run power football at you, they can run option football and throw the ball. But watch Todd Milliken, number 43, the tight end, right there on Gordon, number 47, making the block. And anytime your quarterback gets to the perimeter of the defense, the tight end needs to make a big block.
Taylor with the 1st and 10. They're going to go to Clark again. And that time, he was tripped up by Curtis Williams, number 93.
Curtis Williams, we have called his name a few times so far today, Brent. He is not necessarily a great athlete, but he's one of those guys who just makes a lot of plays. Plays hard every down. Todd Milliken, again, who said to us this week, this is the most important game of my life.
Last year, these two came into the shootout in Lincoln, ranked 1 and 2, and Nebraska drove 84 yards in 10 plays. That was late in the first quarter. Keith Jones bolting 25 yards, and they took a 7-0 lead into the second half. And then the Sooner offense scored a pair of third-quarter touchdowns, and they went ahead 14-7. Remember Patrick Collins? He bolted 65 yards, and then OU sealed it up on Artie Lasher's 27-yard field goal midway in the fourth quarter. Oklahoma has won the last 4 of the shootouts. Now Taylor, with time on the right, throwing incomplete. Gregory, the intended receiver, and down inside the 5-yard line. And Jim Nance and Errol Parsegan coming your way on the Prudential College Football Report. A lot of those traditional rivalries to tell you about, and some highlights coming up.
Oh, Arrow was smiling again today, wasn't he?
The time he had a grimace is when they kicked that 52-yard field goal near the end of the first half. Charles Thompson still trying to light a fire for this Oklahoma offense. 3rd down. Taylor straight back with plenty of time, but no receivers open, and he takes off to the 44-yard line, where he will be just short of the first down. Scott Garl, number 49, the senior from Hominy, Oklahoma, tackling him.
Here is the problem that Steve Taylor has had for about the 3rd time. Watch the coverage now. Watch all the guys here just locked in on their receiver. And there's nowhere for Taylor to go with the ball, even though he's got lots of protection.
So again, Nebraska going for it on a short 4th down. This is the 3rd time that they have gone for a first with a 4th down situation. The 25-second clock Down to 5 seconds. Down to 3. They get it off. And Clark stacked up near the first down spot. Nebraska signaling that his forward progress gave him the first down, and the official brings the ball out, and that would indicate that indeed that is the case.
Brent, that's one of the reasons that Tom Osborne likes the I formation. He has run it for 16 years here at Nebraska, and that's because you can get your best ball carrier the ball anytime you want. On 4th and 1, you give it to Ken Clark.
Clark hobbling a bit there in your picture, isn't he, as he comes to the sideline. So Clark is out, and Tyrese Knox out of Daly City, California, number 34. He's 5'10", 215 pounds. Taylor keeps it inside the 40-yard line. Wayne Dixon there defensively for the Sooners. Clock down inside of 3:30.
And it's a good point. Nebraska has 2 timeouts remaining. Again, they have about a 30-mile-an-hour wind behind them. They would love to get at least 3 more on the board before halftime. Right now, though, they're thinking about 7.
Bruins add a second field goal in that showdown for the Rose Bowl. Here it's the battle for the Orange Bowl, and the loser will go to the Citrus Bowl. Pretty good consolation prize, and on a day like this, you can look forward to a little Florida weather. They run the draw play with Knox. He hammers his way to the 35, and Dixon popped him. And it'll be 3rd and a couple of yards to go for the first down. Inside of 3 minutes here in the first half.
And a very important 3rd down for the Sooner defense. Again, they must shut them out here the rest of the way in the first half.
And it is actually closer to 3 than when I said 2. Taylor brings him to the line. Makes his call. And the time is going to run out on him unless he gets it called. So he got the timeout called just before the 25-second clock expired. We'll be right back to Norman, Oklahoma.
Nebraska leads Oklahoma. The Horses have not been out of the gate. Hi, everybody. I'm Pat O'Brien. The Horses seeing very little action today because the Schooner goes around when he scores. John, is this the longest you've waited?
The longest we've waited in a while. It really is.
Now, do the Horses get restless here in the cold and the rain?
Sometimes they do, but they have faith in our Sooners, and they're patient. They're ready to run.
All right, John, thank you. Brent, you mentioned the heaters that I've been standing by. I understand you've had 2 shipped up to the booth. Back to you.
You cut me. Look just like John Wayne sitting up there, didn't he? 3rd down for Nebraska. They lead Oklahoma 7-0. Off a fake. Taylor pressured. Throws incomplete. Now the line of scrimmage is at the 35, but they've got that big wind.
And Steve Taylor comes up limping.
And that was Tracy Gordon who shot in on him. Number 47 got a lick on him that time. And John Croker on to punt here for Nebraska. And 2:15 in the first half. The Cornhuskers leading the Sooners by the touchdown that they scored on their opening drive.
Jim Butka, you hear me? Jim Butka.
Croker will try to down it inside the 10 if he can, rolling for the end zone and gets in for the touchback. So with 2 minutes, Oklahoma will take over on its own 20. And at the conclusion of today's game, we'll select a Chevrolet Most Valuable Player from each team, and Chevrolet donates a $1,000 scholarship to the General Scholarship Fund of each school. Another big afternoon for that Heisman Trophy candidate from Oklahoma State, Barry Sanders. 292 yards, 4 touchdowns. Illinois just hanging on. 1st and 10 for the Sooners.
Your alma mater taking it on the chin again. You try to run right by that score, didn't you?
We'll graduate 98%. Thompson under center. Brings it down the line on the triple option. Gets it into the hands of Gaddis, and he's out at the 26.
What the Nebraska defense has done a nice job of here in the first half is when the ball has gotten to the perimeter of the defense, it really had prevented the big play. That time you got what you wanted. You had Gaddis in the open field, but then 2 Nebraska defenders showed up.
Pat, that's how well the Nebraska defense has played here this afternoon so far. Now that's shutting down on one of the finest offenses in the land. 4 yards to go for the first down for Oklahoma. Oh, was the fullback hammered. Perry took one step and Willie Griffin was there.
He is having a great game, Griffin is. Again, in a defined area, they shift a little bit late so he gets a quick start, and that's why he shut down the fullback so quickly. And then penetrated very quickly, took an inside slant right away. Nobody there was there to pick him up.
Minute and a half. Sooners taking some time here. They don't want to give Nebraska too much time. Nebraska down to only 1 timeout and inside of a minute and a half. And Perry bottled up again. The fullback finding no daylight as Lawrence Pete and Kent Wells are there defensively, with the second ticking away here on the opening half.
Again, the point to be made is Nebraska has 1 timeout remaining, a lot of wind behind them. They're going to use that last timeout right now. They'll have none, but a 30-mile-an-hour wind at their back.
So while we've got a break, let's take a little time.
Scott Garlbrand has done a very nice job. He is back here. You're going to see him make the play, but he does a very nice job of just reading the eyes of Steve Taylor and just wait. He read the pattern beautifully, hung in there, and I think he fooled Steve Taylor into throwing that ball and then made the nice play.
5 interceptions for the season. For the senior who majors in business management down here in Norman. And the Sooners trying to capitalize on the turnover, battling the clock now, 40 seconds to go. Anderson back in at fullback. Thompson on the triple option, gets it in the hands of Garrett. Flips a tackle, and he's out of bounds inside the 35. That was Mike Gaddis and Chris Caliendo getting him out of bounds after a 16-yard gain.
And when you have halfbacks like Gaddis and Stafford, 33 seconds is a world of time. Those guys have the ability to go the distance at any moment.
Damon Stell, the senior running back, into the lineup for Oklahoma. Gaddis out. So Stell and Stafford are the halfbacks. The 25-second clock down to 3 seconds. And timeout is called by Oklahoma. So with 33 seconds left in the first half from Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma, the Cornhuskers leading the Sooners 7-0. The winner to go to the Orange Bowl and play Miami. And the loser will go to the Citrus Bowl and take on ACC champion Clemson. Notre Dame staying unbeaten in South Bend. Michigan and Ohio State in a dandy as the Buckeyes battled the Wolverines a lot harder than many folks expected. That one was in Ireland. And in the big one for the Rose Bowl in Los Angeles, SC leading it 14-9. The Bruins have kicked 3 field goals. The Bruins led once, 3-0. And that fellow without the helmet, who's the big player defensively, he's saying, I did it all with my eyes. I looked him off.
Oklahoma has run a lot of unbalanced line thus far here in the first half. They haven't thrown much out of it yet.
Gaddis checks back into the lineup. They break the bone and go to the eye. Gaddis is the tailback. Thompson drops it off complete. Hit number 43, Adrian Cooper, and the clock is stopped with 27 seconds as the Sooners work the sideline, out of timeouts.
And Adrian Cooper, number 43, lined up at tight end. He is the sixth different starting tight end for the Sooners this year. Have had a lot of problems with injuries, but does a nice job of catching the ball and then getting out of bounds.
Trying to replace a legend at that position, Keith Jackson, who has gone on to star with the Philadelphia Eagles. 62 catches on the season for the Oklahoma coaching staff. 27 seconds in the first half. Thompson to Gaddis, who's going to throw the halfback pass and couldn't find a receiver. And Broderick Thomas, number 89, is able to bring him down.
Well, and Gaddis, if he had some time, had Cooper, the tight end, open for a score. Time running down, they've got to set up very quickly to kick the field goal. They've wasted some timeouts before.
Not enough time to get it set up, and quickly Thompson throws it out of bounds, but there is a penalty flag down at the 30, and the Nebraska players are quickly running off the field toward the locker room, and so are the Oklahoma players.
Well, Brent, I think Oklahoma really misused its timeouts the last couple of minutes of the first half.
So Nebraska takes a 7-0 lead in the locker room, and we send you to high and dry New York City and Jim Nance.
Rain is on the way here as well, Brent, but the performance of the day, Barry Sanders, a performance that may well have locked up the Heisman Trophy. 292 yards, 4 touchdowns, leading Oklahoma State to victory. We'll have the complete scores and stories coming up in just a moment after this message and a word from your local station.
The representative goes above and beyond to meet your needs in insurance and other financial services.
Lead for Nebraska, the Orange Bowl bid on the line out of the Big 8. And, Coach, what about that first half?
Well, it was an outstanding performance by Nebraska, unquestionably. You look at the statistics, 219 yards for the Cornhuskers, and they held Oklahoma just 65 yards rushing. But they missed some scoring opportunities, and if I was a Cornhusker fan, I wouldn't get too overconfident because this is reminiscent of last year's game where they led 7-0. Oklahoma came out the second half. Hold on, they always find a way.
All right, Coach, let's run down the top 20. Number 1, Notre Dame is now 10-0 on the season. Penn State suffers its first losing season in 50 years. After the game, I spoke with Coach Lou Holtz about the fact his team is 2 games away.
Petrus, California. The wind at his back, and the 2 freshmen. Number 5 is Glenn Milburn. Rod Fisher, number 7, back there with him. Fisher at the goal line. 10, 15, 20. Down at the 21-yard line. They hammered him on that kickoff unit. And moments ago, Pat O'Brien caught up with the Oklahoma coach.
Coach, their defense seems to be taking it away from you, first half anyway.
You know, we're getting the devil beat out of us, we're still in the ball game. We've got to help our defense in the second half. We just get a one-bit play, get a good play, then a bad play. It's just so inconsistent on offense. They're playing good defense, but we're still in the ball game. I can't believe it.
How's the weather affecting you? How will it affect you?
That has no effect. Either one of us. Steve Taylor has an effect on us.
All right.
All right, Pat. They break out of the bone on first down, and they run Gaddis. And the freshman running back bounces off one tackler, stays on his feet, and battles his way to about the 22-yard line before Jeff Mills from Montclair, New Jersey, gets him down. This will be about 2nd and 9, however, for Oklahoma, so they're not accomplishing much on first down, Pat.
And that is always the key because Oklahoma is used to being in 3rd and 2. When you think of the wishbone, they come up with a lot of yards on 1st and 2nd downs, but in the first half, they faced 3rd and 5 an awful lot.
Eric Bross and Artie Guess check in. Adrian Cooper leaves. Anderson, the fullback. Down the line works Thompson on the pitch to Stafford. Well defended. Broderick Thomas was chasing him, and Lorenzo Hicks came up to help. So he was sealed up on the pitch, and they're finding no running room when they go to Broderick Thomas's side.
They have shut the fullback down. Always the key when you play the wishbone. You see 4 times for 2 yards. The other thing is there haven't been any big plays for the Oklahoma offense when they've gotten to the perimeter. We just saw the wishbone defense about as well as you possibly can.
And they have put Oklahoma in 3rd and 15. So they'll break the bone and they'll slot Gaddis. Stafford and Gaddis are both to Thompson's left. Thompson runs. 25, 30, first down Oklahoma, and out to the 46-yard line.
There is no substitute for speed. You can lift weights to get stronger. You can get smarter through experience. But when you have speed like Charles Thompson does, you can make a lot of plays.
Eric Bross throws a beautiful block on this play, and it's 28 yards for the Sooner quarterback, Charles Thompson.
Brent, he may have some of the quickest feet that I have seen all this year.
Mandatory to have quick feet if you run the triple option from that quarterback position. Gaddis. And he gained 3 yards before Lawrence Peak, the senior from Wichita, Kansas, playing extremely well in the middle of that defense for the Cornhuskers.
Was Pete's sixth tackle on the day. He's the guy who quit the team last April, but came back, asked to be reinstated on the team. They actually had reassigned his number, and they put him on the scout team and worked his way up into the starting lineup, and he's playing his best football of the season right now.
Gaddis picks his way toward the 45-yard line, which would give the Sooners another first down.
Some of the equipment men have been working on Steve Taylor, putting some heat bomb there on his right arm to try to keep that warm.
So the Sooners on a drive here to start the second half, trailing Nebraska 7-0.
On the way here as well, Brent, but the performance of the day, Barry Sanders, a performance that may well have locked up the Heisman Trophy. 292 yards, 4 touchdowns, leading Oklahoma State to victory. We'll have the complete scores and stories coming up in just a moment after this message and a word from your local station.
Financial representative goes above and beyond to meet your needs in insurance and other financial services.
Lead for Nebraska, the Orange Bowl bid on the line out of the Big 8, and Coach, what about that first half?
Well, it was an outstanding performance by Nebraska, unquestionably. You look at the statistics, 219 yards for the Cornhuskers, and they held Oklahoma just 65 yards rushing. But they missed some scoring opportunities, and if I was a Cornhusker fan, I wouldn't get too overconfident because this is reminiscent of last year's game where they led 7-0. Oklahoma came out the second half. Hold on, they always find a way.
All right, Coach, let's run down the top 20. Number 1, Notre Dame is now 10-0 on the season. Penn State suffers its first losing season in 50 years. After the game, I spoke with Coach Lou Holtz about the fact his team is 2 games away.
Citrus, California. The wind at his back, and the 2 freshmen. Number 5 is Glenn Milburn. Rod Fisher, number 7, back there with him. Fisher at the goal line. 10, 15, 20. Down at the 21-yard line. Again, hammered him on that kickoff unit. And moments ago, Pat O'Brien caught up with the Oklahoma coach.
Coach, their defense seems to be taking it away from you, first half anyway.
You know, we're getting the devil beat out of us, we're still in the ball game. We've got to help our defense in the second half. We just get a one-bit play, get a good play, then a bad play. We're just so inconsistent on offense. They're playing good defense, but we're still in the ball game. I can't believe it.
How's the weather affecting you? How will it affect you?
That has no effect. Either one of us. Steve Taylor has the effect on us.
All right.
All right, Pat. They break out of the bone on first down, and they run Gaddis. And the freshman running back bounces off one tackler, stays on his feet, and battles his way to about the 22-yard line before Jeff Mills from Montclair, New Jersey, gets him down. This will be about 2nd and 9, however, for Oklahoma, so they're not accomplishing much on first down, Pat.
And that is always the key because Oklahoma is used to being in 3rd and 2. When you think of the wishbone, they come up with a lot of yards on 1st and 2nd down, but in the first half, they faced 3rd and 5 an awful lot.
Eric Bross and Artie Guess check in. Adrian Cooper leaves. Anderson, the fullback. Down the line works Thompson on the pitch to Stafford, well defended. Broderick Thomas was chasing him, and Lorenzo Hicks came up to help. So he was sealed up on the pitch, and they're finding no running room when they go to Broderick Thomas's side.
They have shut the fullback down. Always the key when you play the wishbone. You see 4 times for 2 yards. The other thing is there haven't been any big plays for the Oklahoma offense when they've gotten to the perimeter. We just saw the wishbone defense about as well as you possibly can.
And they have put Oklahoma in 3rd and 15. So they'll break the bone and they'll slot Gaddis. Stafford and Gaddis are both to Thompson's left. Runs 25, 30, first down Oklahoma, and out to the 46-yard line.
There is no substitute for speed. You can lift weights to get stronger, you can get smarter through experience, but when you have speed like Charles Thompson does, you can make a lot of plays.
Eric Gross throws a beautiful block on this play, and it's 28 yards for the Sooner quarterback, Charles Thompson.
Brett, he may have some of the quickest feet that I have seen all this year.
Mandatory to have quick feet if you run the triple option from that quarterback position. Gaddis. And he gained 3 yards before Lawrence Pete, the senior from Wichita, Kansas, playing extremely well in the middle of that defense for the Cornhuskers.
Was Pete's 6th tackle on the day. He's a guy who quit the team last April, but came back, asked to be reinstated on the team. They actually had reassigned his number, and they put him on the scout team and worked his way up into the starting lineup, and he's playing his best football of the season right now.
Gaddis picks his way toward the 45-yard line, which would give the Sooners another first down.
Some of the equipment men have been working on Steve Taylor, putting some heat bomb there on his right arm to try to keep that warm.
So the Sooners on a drive here to start the second half, trailing Nebraska 7-0.
The Oklahoma speed is going to get to that corner of the defense, and they can come up with a very, very big play.
Osborne trying to break that 4-year drought at the hands of Oklahoma. 3 yards to go for the first down for Oklahoma. Keeps it. Tucked inside the 30. There's a penalty marker down. Loose inside and out of bounds at the 17-yard line. Penalty marker thrown on the play as Thompson runs 19 yards.
Again, that is what Oklahoma is trying to do. They set up that play by keep running the fullback plunge, but eventually they want to get Charles Thompson on the corner of the defense where he can pitch the ball. They're looking for a mismatch, 2-on-1 or 3-on-2, and that's how they get the big play.
But they're going to bring it back. Guy Taron Manning shaken up on that play. Scores from some of the other big ones this afternoon going by on your screen.
Holding on the offense.
So a mistake again by Oklahoma. And like Coach Switzer told Pat O'Brien, his Sooners have been erratic here so far this afternoon. And that kills what would have been their biggest scoring opportunity of the day. Instead of being down inside that 20-yard line, now the ball will be put down near the 47-yard line.
Brent, the last time that Oklahoma was in 3rd and long, Charles Thompson ran the quarterback draw for about 25 yards.
They set up in the I formation. Gaddis out as a wide receiver. Jackson rolling under heavy fire, steps away from a defender, but loses his balance. And Etienne is there defensively, and Oklahoma will have to punt it away. But it was the holding penalty which killed this drive. Signal at the 16 by Brinson. And that's where Nebraska will put it in play after the 34-yard punt by Thompson. Nebraska 7, Oklahoma nothing. We're coming right back.
7-0 over Oklahoma, and with me is a certified Oklahoma legend, Billy Sims. He gave him a Heisman. What does Oklahoma have to do to get back in this game?
I think right now, you know, Nebraska defense is playing real good, and they outmanning them. So those guys up front in the trenches got to buckle down, start blocking a lot better, and give them some time back there.
You missed this?
Most definitely. I miss this probably college ball more than I do pro ball.
You don't miss the line?
No, not this year.
Grant, back to you.
Thank you, Pat. Well, last night, Billy Sims was introduced as one of the greatest running backs ever. Steve Owens, Greg Pruitt, and Jamel Holloway, the all-time quarterback. Now, Nebraska at the line on first down, and Taylor handing off on his opening play. He'll run straight ahead at the defense. Dixon and Casper were there defensively. And Clark gets up after being stopped for a short gain. Clark was a dominant running back in the first half of this game. Boy, these are great fans in these two areas. So many folks are still out here despite this horrible weather. Wouldn't miss a snap. And the same would be true up in Lincoln. They pound away at the middle of that defense, not yielding much. Brian Carpenter wrapped up by Tony Woods.
And Tony Woods also has done a very nice job of playing nose tackle. Both nose tackles have had very good games so far. Really controlled the center there, got rid of him, and then made the play in the fullback.
Well, despite Army's loss over in Ireland early this morning, they'll still go down to the Sun Bowl in El Paso and take on Alabama. Oh, no bowl takes better care of the athletes than the Sun Bowl down El Paso way. Players all love to go for that one. Here's Taylor now, backing up, almost intercepted, broken up at the 30-yard line. That was 22, Kevin Thompson, and the junior from Houston had 6 if he could have held on.
Terrific play by Kevin Thompson, who just drives on the ball. He read Taylor's eyes the whole way. I'm not sure he could have intercepted that ball because it was really had some smoke on it.
Yeah, that would have been a great catch, looking at that replay from that beautiful angle there that Mike Burks and Joe Assetti offered it. Here's the punter, John Croker for Nebraska. Takes a Nebraska bounce. It'll go inside the 30-yard line. And finally, out of bounds at the 27-yard line. So that's a 50-yard punt. Croker got one to bounce for him. And tomorrow, 12:30 Eastern, Jerry Glanville, the coach of the Houston Oilers. He's a fascinating character. Dropped by at 12:30. Irv Cross was down in Houston. And then our early games will come your way. The Bears usually beat the Bucks, but it's about time for the Bucks to turn one in down there at home. And at 4 o'clock, the big one, the anniversary of the fumble. We'll talk about that tomorrow, too. 1st and 10 here for Oklahoma. Thompson has gone all the way at quarterback for the Sooners. Rodney Anderson fumbles. Nebraska's recovered the ball at the 37-yard line. Let's wait till the umpire to make sure. Let's wait and see if Oklahoma battled back. You bet they did.
And that is a big recovery. Because
that is some tug-of-war going on down there because Nebraska, now a penalty flag is thrown as the scuffling breaks out. Charles Pryor was down there in the middle of it, number 10. He may be telling the coach that he had the ball down on the bottom. I'm not sure why he was over there. We'll take a look at it again and see.
You know, Brent, I'm amazed.
Unsportsmanlike behavior in this team.
I'm I'm amazed that Nebraska did not make that recovery after the fumble because there were 3 white jerseys after. Watch Rodney Anderson, the fullback, who after a pretty good run gets hit by 3 guys, gets stripped by Pete, the nose tackle. And there's a lot of white jerseys around there. And so I think it was Manning, 64, who made the recovery, Brent.
And Manning did bounce on that ball.
It's a heads-up play by the offensive tackle.
Boy, it really was. All that white down there, I thought for sure Nebraska had that one. Then the penalty is tacked on top of it. Now Oklahoma on the drive for Coach Switzer. The ball will be put down at the Nebraska 48-yard line. Nebraska 7, Oklahoma nothing. Will use a timeout.
Well, in a close ball game, you can't waste timeouts. They misused timeouts in the first half.
The 25-second clock expired. They may not be charged with this timeout. There is a penalty flag.
Yep. It happened in the first half as well. It was on the same play, trying to send a guy in motion when the clock expired in the first half.
Both quarterbacks, especially Thompson, have been rattled at the line of scrimmage.
You have to know that if you're going to audibilize a lot, you need to get up underneath the center with about 8 seconds remaining so that you can make the audible and still get the ball snapped.
Now the referee started that 25-second clock again. Thompson was over on the far side with the Oklahoma coaching staff. He dashes back in with the play. 1st and 15, but they are not assessed the timeout. Fumble, and Thompson wraps it up there. Holloway.
So it really has been one mistake after another for Oklahoma in the second half. It's their 4th fumble of the day. They have not lost any yet, but they've put it on the turf 4 times. Sometimes this happens to a quarterback in wet weather. The ball is slippery, and a center never gets it all the way up to the quarterback, and that looks like what happened right there to Charles Thompson.
Thompson straight back, trying to run out of it, and brought down by Larry Etienne, the linebacker from New Iberia, Louisiana. Leroy. I think I said Larry. Let me correct that right away.
Well, Etienne, Brent, has done a very nice job on 2 blitzes. Sometimes this year he's gotten so excited he's overrun the blitz. That time, for the 2nd time today, he made a real nice play.
Third down and 24 yards for Oklahoma as that Nebraska defense continues to dominate. Throwing a shutout at the Oklahoma wishbone. Thompson pulling out. And caught beautifully. What a great catch that time by number 28. Artie Guest, 28 yards.
And I think it was they've also called pass interference on the defense, number 8, Hicks. But Artie Guest does a great job of concentration because the ball was underthrown, and it's plays like that, big plays like that, that win conference championships in games like this.
Defensive pass interference refused. The ball was complete first.
Oklahoma with another opportunity. Artie Guest, the sophomore from Oklahoma City. And that's the 5th pass he has caught this year.
Throwing a lot of oranges on the field. Lucky they're not going to go to the Gator Bowl.
First and 10 for the Sooners. Ball is inside the Nebraska 35. Thompson pitches off the option to Stafford, and he's well defended and out of bounds on the far side for a loss of 4 yards. Caliendo there defensively.
So I can't say enough about the play of Tom Osborne's nose tackle, Lawrence Pete. What he did there again, even though he didn't make the play, he kept 2 players off the linebackers, and that allowed Caliendo to make the stop. Sometimes when the nose tackle doesn't make the play, his only responsibility is to clear the way for the linebackers. He did it there.
2nd and 13. brought down with Reggie Cooper, 17 there defensively.
Charles Thompson, again, has been very, very patient. He hasn't really made any bad pitches. And sometimes that can be frustrating for an Oklahoma team who is so used to big plays. But he's waiting for the right opportunity.
13 yards to go for the first down. Ball is at the Nebraska 36-yard line. Thompson to throw. Down over the middle and intercepted at the 2-yard line by Lorenzo Hicks. Nebraska holds off Oklahoma again.
What a nice play by Lorenzo Hicks. A little bit earlier, he had the pass interference penalty called on him, but he didn't get down. He played that ball beautifully, a little bit underthrown by Charles Thompson. But Lorenzo Hicks is out here all by himself. The free safety's up trying to stop the run, and then Hicks makes the play.
Steve Taylor and Nebraska coming out from their own 2-yard line. This is Clark, right straight ahead, finds a hole and fumbles the ball. Ball is loose, recovered by Oklahoma. Scott Garl with 2 interceptions and now a fumble recovery. Gary Parks knocked the ball free, and the Sooners with another opportunity.
Scott Garl has been all over the field, first with the interceptions and then there in the right place. There's a big hole here for Ken Parks. Gets a nice block by his fullback, runs through the tackle of Dillon. He thinks he's off to the races, and it was number 8, Parks, who stripped the ball, and Scott Garl, the other quarterback, makes the recovery. It's good team defense.
The Sooners with the ball at the Nebraska 31-yard line. Nebraska 7, Oklahoma nothing. 4.5 minutes left in the third quarter. You might notice when number 6 Charles Thompson comes up to the line, he's not wearing that Yanto Ho necklace this year. Coach Switzer not wanting any individualism. All of the buzz on this team. Thompson handing it off. Gaddis busts the tackle, and he is inside the 25-yard line. So there is the freshman runner from Midwest City, Oklahoma, Mike Gaddis, showing some of that power which has stamped him as the next running back star here in Norman.
And Brent, the reason they like Gaddis is he is a big guy. Most of the Oklahoma Sooners halfbacks over the years have been 5'7", 5'8", 175 pounds. Gaddis is 6'2", 205, but still can go the distance.
Second down and 2. The ball put down at the Nebraska 23-yard line. Thompson gives to the fullback Anderson. Close to a first down. It will depend on where the ball is being spotted. Matt, who are the standouts in that Oklahoma offensive line?
The right guard, Anthony Phillips, is the man all year long in short yardage. They've run behind Anthony Phillips. He's made everybody's All-American team. And they did pick up the first down running behind Phillips again. Right there, number 68, a remarkable guy, 4 times an academic All-Big 8 selection. And again, made the All-American teams as well.
His brother was a Sooner through last season. One of the fine young men down here in Norman. Now with a 1st and 10. Ball at the Nebraska 20-yard line. Thompson gives to the fullback Anderson. He's close to the 15-yard line.
Brent, the Sooners have been remarkably successful inside the 20-yard line. Out of 37 attempts, they've scored 35 times, and that's because they run the same offense all over the field. They don't have to change that offense when they get inside the 20 like most teams. They still run that wishbone.
Deepest penetration of the game by the Sooners. The ball close to the Nebraska 15-yard line for a 2nd and 5. Thompson down the line. now pitches to Stafford. Stafford out of bounds inside the 15-yard line, but short of the first down. Caliendo out of Brookfield, Wisconsin, chasing him on that side defensively.
Charlie McBride, the defensive coordinator, has to be happy with his linebackers, Caliendo and Etienne, because they've done a great job of stretching it out, allowing everybody 4 or 5 white jerseys to get in and help out on the play.
3 yards to go for the first down. Oklahoma trailing it by 7. 2:45 left in the third quarter. Nebraska scored on its first possession of the game. No scoring since then. The fullback, Anderson, short of the first down. The middle ready again. Lawrence Pete and Kent Wells. Wells out of Lincoln East High School. He's 6'5", 285 pounds, and a junior. Pete is the senior from Wichita, Kansas.
And Barry Switzer has elected to go for the field goal, but this is not an easy field goal attempt. Into a 30-mile-an-hour wind, and the ball is on a hash mark.
Artie Lasher to attempt it. Thompson, the punter, is the holder. This would be his longest of the year by 1 yard. Into the Glowman. On its way. And Oklahoma's on the board. A 28-yard field goal by Lasher. It's now Nebraska 7, Oklahoma 3. Made for reading Agatha Christie. 7-3, Nebraska over Oklahoma. 1:50 left in the third. Interesting that these two teams both fare very well away from home. Nebraska's won 4 of the last 9 games played here in Norman. The previous 2 games were up in Lincoln, both won by Oklahoma.
Fred, you keep talking about the weather. You're sounding more and more like Willard Scott.
Well, it's a shame that we can't get out of here tonight, but all the airplanes are probably grounded for 48 hours. Just kidding, Jim. Thompson with the ball on the tee. 7-3. Nebraska leading. Dana Brinson back deep. Bounces at the 15, and it was a free ball there momentarily until Brinson pounced on it. Wouldn't that have been a turn of events here?
I thought Brinson was going to run up and call for the fair catch, which you're allowed to do on a kickoff. He should not have let that one bounce. And you can feel the momentum having swung to the Sooners right now. Again, the crowd getting into it. The defense has played well here in the second half, and they just put a field goal on the scoreboard.
It's up to the senior quarterback, Steve Taylor, to lead Nebraska out of this bad field position. Works the option, comes down the line, and he'll keep it. And he's out to the 23-yard line and into the arms of Dixon.
Although Steve Taylor has not completed many passes today, he's done a nice job of really running this offense. Not coming up with too many negative plays, as you see him come down the line here. He's had a couple of nice option plays. He's made some nice audibles. Again, very, very important for him to play well in this his last Oklahoma game.
2nd and 3 for the Huskers. Clark, the eye back. He keeps going until he gets that first down. Richard Dillon tackling him. But it'll be a fresh set of downs for the Huskers, approaching the 1-minute mark of the third period. So here in Memorial Stadium in Norman, Oklahoma, with Pat Hayden and Pat O'Brien, I'm Brent Musburger. This is the battle for the Orange Bowl and the Big 8 championship. Nebraska leading Oklahoma 7-3. This is the eye back for the Huskers, Clark, and he is out to the 33-yard line. Good first down run.
Every good eye back I have seen at Nebraska loves this part of the game. When the going gets tough, this is when they want the ball, and they seem to gain strength in the fourth quarter.
He's already rushed for 142 yards. That puts him up at the 1,500 mark. getting to the 35, but that will leave Nebraska with 2 yards to go for the first down. Scott Evans tackling him for the Sooners.
You mentioned Ken Clark having 1,500 yards on the year, and again, it's been a quiet 1,500 yards. People have not heard much of Ken Clark this year, but he's had a terrific season.
That'll wrap up the third quarter. Nebraska 7, Oklahoma 3. College football on CBS returns after this message and a word from your local station. And you're looking at Jamel Holloway, who lost his job this season to Charles Thompson. Underwent knee surgery, the cruciate ligaments, and lost some of that quickness, but he still is Oklahoma's top passer. And don't rule out the possibility of perhaps seeing him here in the final 15 minutes. This is a big 3rd and 2 for Nebraska. Clark stretching it, gets the first down. The ball will be marked at the 41-yard line. What in the world happened to Pat O'Brien? Is he still with us this afternoon, or we find we've got an injured player down here on the field? I think I see him. What are you doing down there, Pat?
Brent, you and I have talked about this. Are these great fans or what? Twyla here has not moved from her seat the entire game. Why is that?
What?
How come you haven't moved the whole game?
I want to miss nothing.
Brent, how come we never get one of those in their games in Hawaii? Back to you.
I think she was there. Thanks, Pat.
Couldn't have seen much, huh?
Meanwhile, that's big Curtis Williams, who was shaken up on the play. Being helped off.
He has played well here in this game, particularly stopping the inside run. He plays defensive tackle for the Sooners and really had a very good first half.
Throw the ball at the Nebraska 42. They lead Oklahoma 7-3. The senior class at Nebraska has never beaten Oklahoma, wanting this one more than any other. Clark gets his daylight out beyond midfield and close to another first down. Kevin Thompson tackling him.
You know, Brent, watch the right side of the offensive line as they pull and lead the way for Clark. Offensive linemen sometimes are as anonymous as telephone operators, but they've done a great job here of opening up holes all afternoon for Ken Clark.
Second and short. Knox replacing Clark, who was limping off the field. Taylor freezing them on the option. Couldn't find the open man. Scrambling, trying to get the first down, and he is out of bounds, and I believe he got it. Let's see where they spot that ball. Dixon giving chase to him.
And even though he only picked up maybe 2 or 3 yards, that may have been one of the best runs of Steve Taylor's career, considering the circumstances. He avoided a big sack that would have put his team in very long situations and then managed to pick up enough yards for the first down. That's a nice play by Steve Taylor. Take a look. Watch the heat again and the pressure that he's getting faced. Good coverage, first of all. Forced him out of the pocket. That's Backus, number 85, that chases him out. He gets the corner, outruns some people, and picks up the first.
Taylor driving the Cornhuskers. Carpenter, the fullback. He blasts inside the 35-yard line. And now the Nebraska offensive line starting to dominate.
And that Nebraska offensive line has to be a very versatile offensive line, Brent, because you think they run power, they run traps, they run pass blocking, and they've done a nice job of all those things here this afternoon.
It'll be 2nd and 3. Knox still the I-back. Carpenter the fullback. Williams back on the field defensively for the Sooners. Here comes Knox, running wide to the left, and a great defensive play by McMitchell. The junior from Indianapolis coming up from that secondary and bringing Knox down.
That's one of the few times the secondary from Oklahoma has been able to get some penetration and make a tackle behind the line of scrimmage. McMitchell, playing at strong safety, just did a terrific job of doing that there on that play. Fought through a block and then made the tackle.
That's a half dozen tackles from McMitchell this afternoon. Third and 4. Taylor straight back. will throw to Knox, and it's jarred loose, incomplete. The defense holds again for the Sooners.
Richard Dillon is a senior. He knows what is on the line. It's the conference championship and a bid to the Orange Bowl. And a very nice play there on the screen pass.
John Croker in the punt for Nebraska. Jerry Parks standing inside the Oklahoma 15-yard line. Now backing up to the 10 for Coach Woodward. No rush. And Croker's punt will go into the end zone. It'll come out to the 20-yard line. 12 and a half minutes to go in Norman. The Orange Bowl still up in the air. That Oklahoma rushing attack piled up 419 yards on the ground, but it's a different story this afternoon. The Sooners being held to 112 yards despite the weather. Credit that Nebraska defense. First and 10 for Oklahoma at the 20.
If Oklahoma's going to win this game, the offensive line is going to have to do it.
From the eye on the draw, it's Gaddis, and 91 Kent Wells read it perfectly.
The Nebraska defense just has not stayed blocked. Watch Kent Wells, number 91, right here. Now, he's going to get blocked, but he doesn't stay blocked, and then he makes the play. It's one thing to engage and get hit, but then he just throws the guy away and makes the play on Gaddis.
Second down and 14 for Oklahoma.
Second down, 14 for Oklahoma, 16-yard line.
Thompson pitches to Stafford, and he's hammered by Hicks. The triple option being defended perfectly right now by Nebraska.
You can't defend it any better than that. Of course, Miami has defended the triple option of Oklahoma so well over the years, but Nebraska is doing just as good a job, Brent.
And Nebraska is doing what Jimmy Johnson said you had to do. Take the fullback away, and then you can work on the wide men.
Great support coverage there by Hicks. Tim Jackson, the free safety, did a great job, and Reggie Cooper, the strong safety, as well.
Third and 19. Oklahoma in a hole, operating from its own 11-yard line. The bone is broken on this play. Thompson looking for a receiver, can't see anybody, and he is brought down. Jeff Mills was in there defensively for Coach Osborne, and so too was Kent Wells again. Number 91 has played himself a dandy of a game.
I think Charles Thompson was actually trying to run a quarterback draw here, but there's just no holes to go. When you're going to run the draw, there should be an opening right over the center, but Wells hits him, and then Pete hits him, and about 3 or 4 white jerseys are all around Thompson.
So difficult for someone 5'10" to find a passing lane. Doug Flutie has mastered the art of rolling to the left or to the right. But when you drop straight back, boy, those passing lanes really close down. Thompson hammers one out of his own end zone. And that's Brunson at midfield. Out of bounds on the near side. A 4-yard return off a 45-yard punt. So when you come back, we'll have 10:16 to go. Nebraska leading Oklahoma 7-3. And an appointment with the Miami Hurricanes. Meanwhile, the battle for the Rose Bowl continuing out on the West Coast. And USC taking a 28-16 lead over UCLA into the fourth quarter. USC, Pat, has never beaten UCLA in the Rose Bowl. Is that right?
Exactly right. Exactly 0 for 3 there. They moved there several years ago.
Ken Clark returning to the Nebraska backfield. He was shaken up, but he is back in there as the I-back. He's been the dominant running back in this game so far. Carpenter, the fullback, battling his way for a couple of yards with Dante Williams and Richard Dillon tackling him.
I think offensive linemen love these kind of games, thrive in these kind of games where it's a 7-3, everything is on the line, you have bad weather. This is their kind of game, and the Nebraska offensive line really has had a sensational game.
Second and 7 for Nebraska. Sander gets to the 45. Would leave the Huskers with about 5 yards to go. Dante Williams.
Dante Williams, number 98, right there in the middle of your screen, played nose tackle awfully well there. Been playing with a real sore foot. Broke it earlier in the year, and he was playing a little bit too high trying to protect that foot, but that time he stayed low and made the play.
Third and 5. 9:05 to go. Ball at the Sooners' 45-yard line. Nebraska 7, Oklahoma 3. Taylor with the option. Short of that first down. Good, tripping him up. And Croker onto the field.
Important that Croker doesn't punt this ball into the end zone this time. Get it out anywhere inside the 20 and make Oklahoma go the distance.
He punted well here today. Got the Sooners sealed up. Parks will let the ball go, and it'll go out of bounds. See where the officials come out to spot that ball. He's going to mark it down around the 11-yard line. That's a 35-yard punt.
Actually, I think he marked it out on the 6-yard line, Brent.
He did. He's standing down by the 6. I thought that was outside the 10. You're right. Beautiful punt.
And just what he had to do in that situation, in this type of the game, 7-3, don't punt the ball into the end zone.
It has been a winter day. Rain predicted to turn to snow before the evening's over. 8 minutes to go. Oklahoma back on its own 6-yard line. Thompson optioning, pitching to Gaddis, being strung out. And Gaddis made all he could. Found at the 11-yard line. Etienne chasing him.
Leroy Etienne, I think, saved what looked like was going to be a long touchdown run. There was just a little sliver of daylight for Mike Gaddis to use his considerable speed, but Etienne closed off that just in time.
Gaddis' long run of the season, 53 yards for Coach Switzer. Gains 5 yards on that carry. 2nd and 5 for the Sooners. Now the ball is at the 11. Stafford. He is hit first by Willie Griffin. Roderick Thomas, the number 2 man there defensively.
Tom Osborne, one of the nicest men in college football, I think.
And someone we all really enjoy.
Well, he does. I think Barry Switzer gets enough credit as a coach either. This particular season, I think he's done a remarkable job overcoming graduation and injuries.
3rd and 5. The fullback, Anderson, short of that first down. Got to the 15 and had to come to the 17-yard line for the first down.
Barry's got a punt here. 6:28 remaining in the game, and he's sending his punting team on. Punt, play defense, get the ball back one more time.
And that defensive play turned in by Chris Caliendo. Todd Thompson. Bell and Brinton back for Nebraska. Hammers it high and long. Inside the 30-yard line. Brinson looking for daylight, and he is down at the 36-yard line. A 53-yard punt with a 3-yard return. Inside of 6 minutes. 7-3, Nebraska. We'll be right back. Go to players for their outstanding performance in the area of academics and citizenship And the winners from Nebraska, Mark Blazak. He's a social science major from Valparaiso, Nebraska. And from Oklahoma, Scotty Evans. He's a law enforcement major from Edmond, Oklahoma. And Toyota gladly donates a check in the amount of $1,000 to each school's general scholarship fund. 5 minutes and 50 seconds to go. Nebraska with the ball and a 7-3 lead over Oklahoma. Nebraska with a 1st and 10 on the Cornhuskers' 36-yard line. And senior Steve Taylor handing off to Ken Clark, and Williams, the first defender to hit him.
It's very important now for the Oklahoma Sooner defense to force just 3 plays and a punt to give their wishbone offense enough time to score a touchdown. They haven't had too many big plays today, and if they have to drive it, they're going to need plenty of time.
Clark still battling what appears to be a bit of a lingering foot injury. He was a little gimpy when he got up that time. 2nd down and 9. He is still in as the Nebraska I-back. We'll keep an eye on that. Taylor will run. Hanging on was McMitchell, but the ball went down on the far side. Was the quarterback already down? Let's see. They're indicating that the ball was free over there on the far side.
I think the side judge actually did call him down. Nonetheless, it's still 3rd and about 4 yards, the most important 3rd down for this Oklahoma Sooner defense today.
His knee was down before the ball came out. No question about it. Knee was down, so it is 3rd and 4. Taylor looking for a receiver. Being pressured back inside the 25-yard line. Will he get it off? He throws it out of bounds down the far side.
What a play. And Switzer thought that his forward momentum had been stopped by Wayne Dixon. Take a look. What Switzer was arguing about was that Taylor was actually, his momentum was stopped, and it should have been stopped right there. But he spins away and then gets rid of the ball, and there's a receiver, number 21, Bell, who's in the territory, in the neighborhood, so it wasn't interference.
But Oklahoma will get it after the Croker punt. Croker's punt bounces inside the 30. Oklahoma will let it roll dead right there. They've got 4 minutes after that 30-yard punt. Well, tonight, coming your way on CBS, this is the lineup. Dirty Dan to leading. Charles Thompson has gone all the way at quarterback. The bone is broken. And Thompson on 1st down throws, and Gaddis dropped the ball. Gaddis had it, dropped it. It'll be 2nd and 10. Well, here today we've had miserable weather. It's been tough going all day, and head of the CFA, Chuck Ninus, is nowhere in sight, Mr. Hayden. He's probably up there in his warm cabin in Colorado. He's got a big old log on the fireplace, and he's watching Showdown Saturday. He probably started about 5 o'clock this morning, Mountain Time.
Have you noticed he only comes to the Southeastern Conference games when the weather's real nice?
I haven't noticed that, huh? 2nd down and 10. Thompson rolling to the left. Phillips throws a block to get him time, but he still cannot get it off as Broderick Thomas, the All-American linebacker, tackles Thompson for the loss.
And this 3rd down could be it for the Nebraska seniors on defense. If they can stop Oklahoma one more time, as you take a look at the pressure, once again, that Thompson has been under, he has got nowhere to go. That time, that was not a draw. He was trying to throw that ball, but just too much quick inside penetration, that time by Thomas. But this is it for the Nebraska seniors on defense. They need to stop him here.
Know how their hearts are pounding. They've never experienced a win over Oklahoma, but they want this one right now. Thompson pulling out. He's pressured again by Thomas. Throws incomplete. 3 3:04 to go. And there's an injured Sooner down at the 10-yard line. Rodney Anderson, the fullback, down at the 10-yard line.
Rodney's had a great career at Oklahoma. Did suffer a knee injury a year ago.
You know, Pat, in our discussions before this game, we all wondered what would happen when the weather turned bad. Well, so far, Oklahoma's been unable to run the wishbone with authority. We'll be right back. Owns a 31-game Big 8 win streak. That dates back to a 28-11 loss at Kansas in 1984. Mike Gottfried, then the coach up at Kansas. So this senior class of the Sooners has never lost to a Big 8 team. But now, 3:04 to go. Thompson punting again. 7-3. Nebraska ahead of Oklahoma. Lets the ball roll dead at the 35-yard line. Inside of 3 minutes after that 37-yard punt. Question of motivation about this game had to be, did Oklahoma really want to face Miami again? That's who awaits the winner of this game down in the Orange Bowl. Miami have beaten the Sooners 3 straight times. And there's no question that Nebraska wants to get a taste of that Orange Bowl, and now they're within 3 minutes of it.
All they need to do is grind out 3 first downs and they'll win this game.
Taylor tosses to Clark, and Clark made the most out of nothing that time. A hole finally opened on the right side, and he got it out to the 40-yard line. Richard Dillon doing the job defensively.
Every team has their bread and butter play, but when I think of Nebraska, it really is that pitch play into the short side of the field, which they ran right there for about 4 yards.
Ken Clark has been a warrior here this afternoon. Timeout has been called by Oklahoma. Oklahoma uses its first timeout, and we'll be right back. Which would mean that this is the first time since World War II that Oklahoma hasn't scored at least 1 touchdown against Nebraska. They were shut out that time in 42, 7-0. Nebraska with the ball, 2:45 to go, 7-3 the score, 2nd and 7. Clark over 160 yards rushing here this afternoon. Gets the call again, and he is thrown back short of the first down. Richard Dillon hitting for the Sooners, and timeout being called again. So Oklahoma will have 1 timeout. They stop the clock at the 2:30 mark.
In this part of a game, you have a series of big plays on 3rd down. And again, this is it for the Oklahoma defense. On 3rd down, they want to force a punt. They'll have 1 timeout remaining and give their offense 1 last chance.
And splits are conferring about what the offense should do right now. And tomorrow, well, we've got an opportunity to remind you at 12:30 Eastern Time. The NFL Today will lead you into our early games. Chicago, Tampa Bay, Phoenix at Houston, Detroit at Green Bay. Then the late games, the Eagles and the Giants, and Atlanta at the Raiders.
Brent, if Nebraska can hang on and win this game, it's really a big boost for Tom Osborne. It gets the monkey off his back a little bit. He told me this week that he was a little frustrated. He said, I go in this game, I've won 10 games, but people look at this game as a 1-game season. He felt the pressure this week. A win would do a lot to turn that perception about this season around for him.
3rd and 5. Running the option down the line, and he's wrapped up by Oklahoma. Nebraska will have to punt. That was Scott Evans, and Casper in there along with him.
And Nebraska has to punt into the teeth of that wind, so Oklahoma still should get pretty good field position.
One timeout remaining. They'll get the ball near the 2-minute mark. John Croker in to punt it. Glenn Milburn, the freshman from Santa Monica, California, in to return it. Croker standing on his own 26-yard line. Gets it off under a rush, and there's the penalty marker.
That ball got tipped, though.
If it was tipped, that cannot be roughing the punter, isn't that right?
You're absolutely right. I think that ball was tipped.
He got off a bad punt. Oklahoma came after it, but the penalty flag was thrown, and Nebraska's indicating that they're going to be called for running into the kicker.
There is no penalty if the ball is tipped, and the referee should confer with the other officials on that. And that's just what he said. He signaled that the ball was tipped.
And that's it. Oklahoma's got the ball and an opportunity. He got help from the rest of the officiating crew. Take a look at it.
The rush was right up in the middle. Right there in the middle, the ball gets tipped, and even though he runs into him right there, it is not a penalty. Jason Blesser, number 29, who ran into the kicker.
Osborne brought the official over for an explanation.
You know, Brent, I think what they may be conferring about, one of the Oklahoma players may have touched the ball, and then the Nebraska player jumped on it.
Take a look at the other end of this punt then.
And you see the rush up inside the middle. It's tipped, and then he runs in it, so no penalty there. Now watch and see if an Oklahoma player touches the ball. That's the argument right there. And if an Oklahoma player did and Nebraska recovered, it should have been their ball. You could not tell from that angle.
It's Oklahoma's ball. Well, this is it for the seniors on defense. 1:45, and it comes down to the Nebraska defense versus the Oklahoma offense. Sooners need a touchdown. They trail it 7-3. Stell is the running back behind Thompson.
Brett, let's take one more look. Remember, if the ball hits an Oklahoma player, right there, number 12 is Nick Mitchell. If it touches him, it did look like it touched him right there. Didn't look like it touched Nick Mitchell there, and so that was the right call by the official.
That timeout was taken by the officials, none charged to either team. Incidentally, this is the best starting position that Switzer and the Sooners have enjoyed in this game. They are in Nebraska territory. The ball will be put down at the 47-yard line. Thompson, under pressure, will not get it off, and Wells from Lincoln, Nebraska, was all over the little quarterback of Oklahoma.
Kent Wells has really come on here in the fourth quarter. That is the third tackle he's made in this quarter alone.
Sooners hurrying up with the clock running down. Only one timeout remaining. Thompson throws, and he hits Bross on that far side. Out of bounds and stopping the clock at the 48-yard line. The Sooners with a third down. Almost 5 yards to go for the first.
It's third and about 14, I think, for the Sooners here. And when the Sooners have had a chance to come up with big plays in the passing game this year, they've had sprinted Charles Thompson out. Not as a drop-back passer, but they've sprinted him out.
Thompson throwing incomplete. Lorenzo Hicks was there defensively, and it will come down to this fourth and 14 with 111.
You know, in an era where more and more college athletes seem to be manufacturing reputations by taunting defenders and such, Lorenzo Hicks has quietly had a terrific season for the Cornhuskers. He intercepted a pass in the first half and then made a nice play right there on Eric Frost.
This could do it. Thompson back. Thompson can't find anybody. Nebraska's ball. That's not joy on that sideline. That's relief. Injured Sooner down on the carpet. And the Nebraska fans who have traveled here are celebrating with 1:04 to go. Defense did a sensational job here in Norman this afternoon. Nebraska's only lost this season at the hands of UCLA. And they held Oklahoma to 98 yards rushing this afternoon. Quarterback Charles Thompson still down.
Happened on the tackle when Charles Thompson got tackled right here. Got an ankle and a knee twisted there. Lawrence Pete once again making the stop, and he has played one fantastic game. Pete at nose tackle for the Cornhuskers.
Nebraska within 1 minute and 4 seconds of moving on to the Orange Bowl and snapping that 4-game losing streak at the hands of the Sooners, and Osborne trying hard to get the offense off to the side so that he can tell him exactly what he wants done here in the final seconds of this game. Oklahoma, as the loser, goes to the Citrus Bowl. Well, Nebraska heads to the Orange Bowl and an appointment with Miami.
And you talk about the relief that Tom Osborne has to feel here this afternoon. A remarkable performance by his defensive team and his defensive coordinator, Charlie McBride. Here's a guy, again, who had a terrific career. 16 years. All 16 years of those, he's had at least 9 wins.
Great roller coaster ride that coaches take, considering Osborne and the disappointment of a year ago and that 1 versus 2. While Thompson is still receiving medical attention, why don't we get a late update from Jim Nance. Jim, what's going on?
Game, of course, we'll have scores and highlights for you, but the performance of the day, once again, Barry Sanders of Oklahoma State, officially 293 yards rushing today, 4 touchdowns, which gives him 35 touchdowns on the season. Now, after the game, Barry Sanders was asked about what the Heisman Trophy would mean to him if he could win it here at the end of his junior season at Oklahoma State.
It would mean everything in the world to my lineman, you know, and my fullback, Garrett Limbrick. And then you think about my father, you know, he's been watching me play all my life, and he's been behind me, and he supported me 100% when no one else, you know, really had confidence in me. So, you know, those guys, they appreciate it very much.
More scores and information coming up after the game, but right now, let's take you back to Norman. Here's Brent.
Pat, I saw your ballot. Are you going to vote for Barry, or do you know yet?
I think I'm going to wait a couple more weeks to see how the battles go out in the West, but certainly Barry Sanders will get my attention. He has had one remarkable year. Well, his father was a big OU fan and thought about hopefully his son might come here.
You have to feel good for that man right there this afternoon, Tom Osborne. He's 1 minute and 4 seconds away from taking this Nebraska team to the Orange Bowl. On the other side, Oklahoma would go to Orlando. That's a pretty good consolation prize. Go down there to Orlando and play the ACC champion, Clemson, in the Citrus Bowl. This Oklahoma team next year figures to go in rated in the top 5 in the preseason. Coach Switzer knew he was about a year away from really contending for that national title. This would be his second defeat. He has already lost to USC, but unfortunately, as he gets ready for the Citrus Bowl, now he has to be concerned about his quarterback, Charles Thompson. They brought the golf cart out onto the field. And we certainly hope it's not a serious injury. They've already lost Jamel Holloway.
You have to be happy for those guys and their seniors. And Barry Switzer may have done his best job of coaching this year. Lost a lot of guys to graduation and injury.
It was probably easier for Nebraska to play this game away from home. Away from the focus of the pressure and the fans up there. It was probably a good time to play Oklahoma down in Norman when you think about it.
Well, it's interesting. Tom Osborne told me this week that he is happy to play these kind of big games on the road because it's easier to keep your players settled down.
Michigan State goes to the Gator Bowl. Take on Vince Dooley's Georgia Bulldogs. Houston to the Aloha Bowl. North Carolina State going to the Peach Bowl in Atlanta. And it looks like USC may be headed to the Rose Bowl. Boy, Indiana hammered Purdue, didn't they, today? And Colorado came back with a strong season. That's one of the unheralded teams around the country. The Buffs with a great year here in the Big 8. Now a minute 4 to go. And the quarterback, Steve Taylor, the senior, kneeling down, about to taste his first victory against Oklahoma. And how these young men of Nebraska have waited for this one. Oranges being thrown onto the field here. The Sooners use their final timeout. They cannot stop the clock again. So Oklahoma fans, along with the Citrus Bowl, are now turning their attention to basketball. Hard to believe when you come down to Norman, you talk to the fans, and you want to ask about the Sooner basketball team and what kind of a chance we got. Coach Billy Tubbs dropped by at halftime. He's got Stacey King and a lot of great players. Went to that championship game against Kansas, all Big 8 NCAA final a year ago. And a lot of folks think that Oklahoma deserves consideration again this year. Now Holloway about to wind up his home career. Kind of a sad story watching from the sideline when you remember how great he was before that knee injury.
He was the best at running the bone.
Coach said nice things about him, not disrupting the team when he lost his job to Thompson. And the second ticking away now. Quickly enough for that man. This will be the slowest 30 seconds of his life. Just keeping an eye on that clock. That'll do it, says the coach. Hello, Miami.
Miami! We're going to Miami!
Tom was the last one to be sure. And he will immediately seek out Coach Switzer. And Barry is right there to congratulate him. Great rivalry over the years. Let's get on to Pat O'Brien. Pat.
All right, Coach, congratulations. Congratulations on the win. A long time to wait for the championship.
Well, we've been 4 years. We're really pleased. We're proud of it. Players played hard. Defense played great. Tough day to play.
Got to be happy for your seniors today, sir.
Yeah, they wanted to win off the bat. We're really pleased.
We're good. Next up is the Orange Bowl. Your thoughts about Miami?
They're a great team. We're looking forward to playing them. We're glad to get there.
We'd like to celebrate this one first. Congratulations. Mayhem on the field. Back to Brent.
All right, Pat, thank you very much. That defense holding Oklahoma to 137 yards. Jim Nance, you ever think you'd see the day when a game in Norman and the Sooners will be held to 137 yards on the ground?
Hard to believe. 7-3 the final. And, Ari, you know Tom Osborne real well. What does this win mean to him today?
Well, it means an awful lot to him. You know, he's had that jinx over his head, I guess. And in the final analysis in this ball game, as well as a week ago, it was the defense that did it. Normally, Nebraska is known for their great offense. Last week, they won 7-0. Today, 7-3 under a very difficult situation, and it's really a big win for the Cornhuskers.
Nebraska going on to face Miami in the Orange Bowl. Oklahoma will now face Clemson in the Citrus Bowl. Elsewhere today, #1 Notre Dame, 10-0 on the season.